Welcome to this episode of the story. Have you subscribed yet? Chapter 90, Intense Battle and a Desperate Turning Point. Sumu's spiritual abyss, myriad phenomena, break, collided violently with the core of the Shadow's spiritual curse formation. The spiritual power light that burst out illuminated the entire dark battlefield. The black-robed wizards of the mysterious force tried their best to maintain the formation. Beads of sweat as big as beans rolled down from their foreheads. Yet the Shadow's spiritual curse formation was still tottering under Sumu's powerful blow. Taking this opportunity, the cultivators of Linksea Town unleashed their ultimate skills one after another. The Elder of Linksea Town formed seals with both hands and chanted incantations, using the spiritual Wind Rift Blade. Countless wind blades condensed from spiritual power like a group of whistling blade-like birds swept towards the crowd of the mysterious force. The dark cultivators and evil spirit beasts let out shrill cries under the cutting of the wind blades, and blood splattered in all directions for a moment. The young cultivators were not to be outdone either. They cooperated with each other and used combined spiritual power moves. Some set up the spiritual water prison to trap some of the evil spirit beasts, while others used the spiritual thunder strike. Thick bolts of lightning descended from the sky, striking the dark cultivators, making their figures twist and tremble in the Lei Guang. Seeing that the situation was unfavorable to their side, the leader of the mysterious force was both shocked and angry. With a command, the more powerful dark cultivators formed a dark spiritual power strangulation formation. They stood in a tight circle, gathering their spiritual power together to form a huge black spiritual power vortex. The vortex spun rapidly, emitting a creepy howl, shattering the attacks launched by the cultivators of Linksea Town one by one. At the same time, the evil spirit beasts in the mysterious force became even more fenghuang. Under the blessing of the Shadow spiritual curse formation, not only did their strengths increase greatly, but they also seemed to gain some strange wisdom. They no longer launched attacks blindly, but began to break through the defense line of the cultivators of Linksea Town strategically. Some agile, evil spirit beasts bypassed the frontal battlefield and rushed towards the relatively weakly defended areas, trying to disrupt the formation of the people in Linksea Town. While dealing with the backlash of the Shadow's spiritual curse formation, Sumu also paid attention to the battlefield situation. Seeing the movements of the evil spirit beasts, his heart tightened. If they were allowed to break through the defense line, the cultivators of Linksea Town would be caught in a dilemma of being attacked from both the front and the back. Sumu made a prompt decision and used the reverse, time-space imprisonment, imprisoning both the space and time around the evil spirit beasts that were trying to make a detour. For a moment, these evil spirit beasts seemed to be frozen in place, unable to move no matter how much they struggled. However, this move of Sumu also put him under great pressure. The Shadow spiritual curse formation took the opportunity to strengthen the suppression of the power of the Eye of the spiritual abyss. Sumu felt that the circulation of spiritual power in his body became extremely difficult, as if an invisible big hand was pulling at his spiritual power, trying to tear it apart. Sensing Sumu's predicament, the illusory figure waved his hands and chanted ancient incantations. A bright light radiated from his body, and a pure and powerful spiritual power surged out from him and injected into Sumu's body. This spiritual power was like a timely rain after a long drought, quickly nourishing Sumu's dry spiritual power meridians and allowing him to regain his strength. With the help of the illusory figure, Sumu gathered his strength again and prepared to launch a fatal blow to the Shadow spiritual curse formation. He concentrated all his spirit, exerted the power of the Eye of the spiritual abyss to the extreme, and used the improved version of spiritual abyss myriad phenomena, break, reverse, time spiritual, space annihilation. This move not only integrated the power of time, space, life, and order, but also added the retrospective feature of the reverse, time spiritual power, a colorful spiritual power column with strands of black reverse time patterns shot towards the core of the Shadow spiritual curse formation like a foaming star. Where the spiritual power column passed, the space was torn into black cracks and time seemed to be forcibly reversed. everything around fell into a chaotic yet wonderful state. The Shadow's spiritual curse formation sensed the terrifying power of this move. The light on the surface of the formation flickered uneasily as it tried to resist this fatal blow. The black-robed wizards used their last bit of strength to gather all the dark spiritual power at the core of the formation, forming an indestructible black barrier. The moment spiritual abyss, myriad phenomena, break, reverse, time spiritual, space annihilation, collided with the black barrier, the entire battlefield seemed to be paused, and then a deafening Zhu-xiang erupted. A powerful spiritual power shock wave spread out in all directions centered on the collision point. The surrounding mountains were flattened by the shock wave, and huge gullies were torn in the ground. After the light dissipated, a huge hole appeared at the core of the Shadow spiritual curse formation. The black-robed wizards spat out blood and fell to the ground one after another. The Shadow's spiritual curse formation instantly collapsed, and the dark spiritual power that enveloped the battlefield quickly dissipated. The members of the mysterious force were suddenly thrown into chaos by this unexpected change. Seizing this excellent opportunity, the cultivators of Lingxi Town were greatly inspired and launched a full-scale counterattack. Their spiritual power moves rained down on the mysterious force like a sudden storm. For a moment, the mysterious force was forced to retreat steadily. Seeing that the situation was hopeless, the leader of the mysterious force was filled with unwillingness, but in order to preserve strength, he had to order a retreat. However, just as the mysterious force was about to retreat, dark clouds suddenly gathered in the sky, and a huge black vortex appeared above everyone's heads. A powerful suction force came from the vortex, enveloping both the members of the mysterious force and those of Lingxi Town. Sumu thought something was wrong. He knew that this was by no means the doing of the mysterious force, but an even more powerful and unknown force interfering in this battle. "Everyone, hold on! Don't be sucked in!" Sumu shouted loudly. At the same time, he used the spiritual abyss guardian Starlight to protect the cultivators of Lingxi Town. The members of the mysterious force also tried to resist the suction force, but they had consumed too much in the previous battle, and many of them were too weak to struggle and were mercilessly sucked into the vortex. Sumo looked at the vortex, filled with Yihuo and vigilance. Where did this unknown force come from? What was its purpose? Could Sumu and the people of Lingxi Town survive this powerful suction force? Everything was full of unknowns, and this battle had become even more complicated and confusing. Sumo tried his best to maintain the spiritual abyss guardian Starlight. The bright Starlight shield trembled violently under the powerful suction force, as if it could break at any time. The cultivators of Lingxi Town huddled together tightly, each with a solemn expression, circulating their spiritual power to help Sumu resist the suction force. The illusory figure looked at the black vortex in the sky, a hint of worry flashing in his eyes. He said to Sumo, "This force is extremely powerful and strange. It doesn't seem to come from any known force in the spirit fantasy realm. We must be careful and try to find the weakness of this vortex." Sumu nodded. While trying to maintain the shield, he circulated his reverse, time spiritual power, trying to find the flaw of the vortex by sensing the abnormality of time. Under the perception of the reverse, time spiritual power, Sumu found that there was a time disordered area in the center of the vortex, which seemed to be the source of the entire vortex's power. An idea flashed in Sumo's mind. He knew that this might be the key to breaking the Kunjing, but it was extremely difficult to approach the center of the vortex. The powerful suction force and unknown dangers were waiting for them. "Senior, I've discovered that the time in the center of the vortex is disordered. Maybe we can start from there." "But it's too dangerous to get close," Sumu said to the illusory figure. The illusory figure pondered for a moment and said, "I'll give you a hand. You take the opportunity to get close to the center of the vortex and try to use the power of the eye of the spiritual abyss to stabilize the time disorder there." With that, the illusory figure quickly formed seals with both hands, and a golden spiritual power beam shot into the sky, competing with the suction force of the black vortex and temporarily reducing the pull on everyone. Sumo seized the opportunity and used the reverse, time teleportation, instantly appearing near the center of the vortex. He quickly circulated the power of the Eye of the Spiritual Abyss, trying to stabilize the time-disordered area. However, when Sumu's spiritual power touched the time-disordered area, a powerful shock force came back, sending him flying backwards. Sumu spat out blood, but he didn't give up and rushed towards the center of the vortex again. This time, he integrated the reverse, time spiritual power, space spiritual power, and the power of the Eye of the Spiritual Abyss, and used the Spiritual Abyss reverse time stabilization technique. A soft and powerful light shot out from Sumu's hand and merged into the time-disordered area. Under the effect of the light, the time-disordered situation was slightly alleviated, and the suction force of the black vortex also weakened slightly. But this was far from enough. Sumu knew that he had to increase the power to completely stabilize the time disorder. Seeing Sumu's efforts, the cultivators of Lingxi town transmitted their spiritual power to Sumu one after another. With the support of everyone, Sumu used a more powerful spiritual abyss reverse, time stabilization technique again. The light became extremely bright. The time-disordered area gradually returned to normal, and the suction force of the black vortex quickly weakened and finally disappeared. With the disappearance of the black vortex, the sky cleared up again. Sumu and the people of Lingxi town all let out a sigh of relief, but they knew that this battle was far from over. Although the mysterious force had temporarily retreated, they surely wouldn't give up seizing the Eye of the Spiritual Abyss. And this suddenly appeared unknown force had made the situation even more complicated. Sumu looked at everyone and said, "Is everyone okay? Although we've temporarily overcome the crisis this time, we still face many challenges. We need to recover our strength as soon as possible and get ready for what comes next." Everyone nodded and started to rest on the spot to recover the consumed spiritual power. During the rest, Sumu and the illusory figure began to discuss the origin of this unknown force. The illusory figure said, "This force is mysterious and powerful. I've never seen it before, but one thing is certain. It seems to have some kind of interest in the Eye of the Spiritual Abyss, too. We must be cautious and prevent it from taking action again." Sumu pondered for a moment and said, "Xingya, no matter where this force comes from, we must protect the Eye of the Spiritual Abyss. What should we do next to improve our strength and deal with the possible crises?" The illusory figure looked at Sumo and said, "Your integration with the Eye of the Spiritual Abyss is not deep enough. Next, I'll teach you some more profound integration techniques. At the same time, we need to let the cultivators of Lingxi town master a new combined spiritual power formation to enhance the team's combat power." Sumo nodded to show he understood. 随后, the illusory figure began to teach Sumo the profound integration techniques. Sumo studied intently, trying his best to apply these techniques to the integration with the Eye of the Spiritual Abyss. And the cultivators of Lingxi town were learning the new combined spiritual power formation aside. While everyone was working hard to improve their strength, in the base camp of the mysterious force, the leader of the mysterious force was planning the next attack. He was not willing to fail and vowed to regain the Eye of the Spiritual Abyss. He summoned all the Dark Advisors to discuss a new plan. Although we failed this time, we can't be discouraged. That kid, Sumu, has obtained the Eye of the Spiritual Abyss, and his strength has greatly increased. We must come up with a foolproof plan, the leader of the mysterious force said gloomily. A Dark Advisor stepped forward and said, "Chief, we can unite with other dark forces and attack together. At the same time, we can set up numerous traps on the way that Sumu and the others must pass through to lure them into the trap." After hearing this, a fierce glint flashed in the eyes of the leader of the mysterious force. "Good! That's what we'll do. Notify all dark forces to attack together in half a month. This time, we must succeed." The Dark Advisors took the order and left, starting to prepare the new attack plan. Half a month passed in a flash. Can Sumo and the people of Lingxi town detect the conspiracy of the mysterious force? Can they, with the strength they've improved during this period, successfully deal with the mysterious force's next attack? And will that mysterious unknown force appear again to disrupt the situation? Everything is full of suspense. A new storm is about to strike. The story continues. More exciting content is coming up. Subscribe as soon as possible.